Hello, Hojoz here. Welcome back to the 5th season of Cedara Fight Competition. More specifically, the 2nd episode of Flight Tests. Today, we have the Drone C Mark II facing off against the HC Charmander Mark 11A2 to see if the Drone C passes flight inspections. And I must say, it's quite cool to see this, because these two, both the Charmander and the Drone C name, have both been legends of PFC. So it's quite cool to see them fight each other today. Let's take a look at the Drone C real quick here. Yeah, it's pretty much your standard old Drone C, except yeah, it's been rebuilt for CFC Season 5. Slight bit different, and of course probably better than the Charmander, because I know Geological Aerospace tests his aircraft. I don't know what the story is with the others, but I do know for sure that JRA tests his aircraft. So let's deploy you. It's wobbly. No. Looks like the boat is called Drone C boat. Not very original, but I know that Jerry didn't really bother with that. Let's see if the Drone C takes off correctly here. Let's start the competition. Okay, yes. That's... Yeah, you know, Jerry said to me that he wanted his aircraft to be started from the runway. I'm not doing that, because that would be that would mean that's an advantage to one aircraft. I haven't thought of that myself, which is why the Charmander has to be started from the runway. But seeing as I will probably start everything from the vessel mover, because I am the most forgetful person in the entire world. I can't see this. I can't see this entering like that. So what do we do then? I propose I just modify it. I mean, we have Charmander, for example. That took off fine without boosters. I don't know what the case is with the Drone C, but actually we could see what the case would be with Drone C, because if it doesn't need the boosters to take off, then well, you can just make it take off without the boosters. So let's just very quickly see if that is a thing. And how will I test that? Well, just activate the boosters. I hope they don't just burn up the entire craft. No, just empty the boosters here. That's how you can test these things. It's starting to move a little bit there. Well, obviously it wasn't tested for this. I'm just curious if it would run without the boosters. There we go, everything depleted. So, detach. There we go. And detach the other one too. There we go. Let's see if the Drone C takes off correctly. Oh, it doesn't have enough power to take off here. Oh, it does. It does. Now let's see if it can stay in the air here. Ah, yes. Yes. So it doesn't even need the boosters. That is very handy to know. I mean, I know Jerry doesn't really like me modifying his aircraft, but come on, man, that is just fun. That's very fun to me. I mean, the boosters aren't needed, so it means basically I can take the boosters off for you, be the entire same aircraft, perform exactly as you expect, except not the boosters. Which is a very positive news. Yes. I hope you enjoy the Hojoz accents. There will be plenty more of them probably in my channel's future. Anyway, battle starts. It is the Drone Sea deploying some of its missiles, as the Charmander obviously goes for its very cheaty and very stupid launch AGM 114s early, which of course are Hellfires. Let's see how Jerry's boat is equipped for that. Okay, the boats are bugged today. Let's see. The AIM-120 did not hit the Charmander, so obviously the next missiles deployed is an AIM-9, and an AIM-9 of its own was deployed by the Charmander there, exploding prematurely because it realized that it couldn't quite get to the Drone Sea, as the Drone Sea is shooting at the Charmander, launching another AIM-9. Of course, only 2 AIM-9s and 2 AIM-120s allowed. We have been building some KSP 10 aircraft, not quite used to that anymore. Drone Sea shooting at the Charmander still. Now she's out of gun range. It's only waiting until it's back in, which it is right now. So let's see if the M230s can get more of an effect on the Charmander as they fire once again. No hits for either. As Drone Sea there throttling down and making the turn towards the Charmander, as the Charmander is making the turn towards the Drone Sea. Let's see who gets guns on each other first. It is the Drone Sea firing its M230s first, as the Charmander has no option but to avoid. Let's see if it hits. It doesn't. It's not very good, as the Drone Sea boat here is doing not very well. As once again my German accent intensifies. The Charmander has been hit. It lost one of its vertical stabilizers and one of its engines, so it's 1/4 the power and a stability loss for the Charmander there. As another set of gunfire has been released from the Drone Sea. Will it hit? It hits. And what does it hit? It strips off the engines, as per usual Charmander fashion. So that is the Drone Sea having completely annihilated the Charmander. It has yet to annihilate the Dutchian, which has completely and utterly no defense. That must hurt. Oh, that's some more hits on the Charmander. Yeah, that's surely going down now. when the Drone Sea will concentrate on the Dutchian, which is 7 kilometers away from it at the moment. Meanwhile, Drone Sea boat not doing that well, and Dutchian doing better, very much better. So I suspect it was just a slight DDAC flaw there. I know Jerry has weapon set up for his boat. Because the weapon groups they help prevent such issues. I don't know what the groups are. Perhaps I should have studied that before I did the flight test. I definitely should have done that. Well then, now that the Drone Sea has successfully taken out the Charmander, let's see what it does about the Dutchian, which it doesn't really seem interested in. That's because the Charmander is still alive, so it will focus on getting some Hellfires on the Charmander, which is now splashed, not doing very well, and I'm going to quickly evacuate Jeb, because otherwise Jeb's going to quickly and very accurately die to Drone Sea Hellfires. So Jeb, get out now. That must be... No, that must be something that's not the drone C. Jeb probably far away now, so I'm just going to leave it there. Drone C turning on the Charmander, which is... Oh no, it's actually turning on the Dutchian, which is very good to see, because it means that flight test sent quicker. Of course, I have to see if the aircraft can completely annihilate the Dutchian, which it is going to do anyway, as long as it can get its missiles off. Again, a fundamental flaw at the Dutchian being that it uses 30mm ammo for 20mm guns. Brilliant strategic mouse stroke for me there, as we are now flying towards the Dutchian in the final part of flight tests. I know it hasn't quite gone to plan for Jerry, but I'm sure that he will be happy to hear that he beat the Charmander and the Dutchian. Hellfire's now going off. Is that one at a time? It is one at a time. That's good proof. Not very good for the future of the drone C. That means that, of course, it has a literal F-ton of Hellfires, but it doesn't really deploy multiple at a time, and thus the enemies of the drone C aren't very vulnerable to it, as I've seen boats quite frequently down the first two Hellfires that they encounter, only the third being horribly fatal to the boat. Now the drone C just making sure that the Dutchian will never ever fire, even if it does have the right ammo. There we go. Remaining Vulcans are now all gone, as well as that crew cabin. I don't suspect that the crew is very healthy after that. Drone C flying over, and of course is going to try again. This is the aiming of its Hellfires. But I'm going to leave it there, since now the Dutchian is effectively the same. So, Jerry's Drone C Mark II and Drone C boat have passed flight inspection. Let's get to the next aircraft, which, well, to do some problem solving to pass that one. And for our next craft, we have the Boatfly by Willius, which, as the name suggests, it's a flying boat. And wait until you see the boat that it's parked on it, Oh god, I'm messing this up. Well, so much for messing this up, as we are going to deploy these aircraft. And yep, it's on an aircraft. It's a flying boat on a floating aircraft that doesn't fly. That is the thing with this Boatfly. Oh yeah, and the boat is called plane. Just to add extra confusion. Anyway, let's start the competition. The Charmander and the Boatfly off their positions and into battle. With the Boatfly here, just dropped its carriage. It has a very interesting starting sequence, but because the Charmander appears to be doing not fine if I switch away from it, I wanted to do the start sequence with Charmander. So that's the reason behind that. Anyway, this aircraft was having a little bit of an issue before I installed Airplanes Plus 25.0, and previously I had Airplanes Plus 24.0 as far as I knew. So installing AP Plus, or at least installing another version, new version of AP Plus, seems to have fixed its massive overall and disastrous issues which it had. At least it did in my last 3 tests. So let's see if it doesn't do any overall while aiming again. has a pretty easy time of beating Charmander if it doesn't do that. Well, let's see what it does here. The first crucial point is missile aiming, where it had massive overall issues sometimes. It did fine on the AIM-9 release at missile aiming. I should have enabled the boats. I'm very stupid. Not that it matters. Both AIM-9s have been politely refused by the boat. Let's see how it does now on the Vulcan aiming, which was the other issue. That is, if the boat doesn't take out the Charmander. That's the AA fire here, as the boat fly launched some Hellfires there. Now turning around to get to the Charmander, as the Charmander has also turned around to get to the boat fly. I'm hearing some explosions, so I assume those Hellfires have been delivered correctly. That is actually your boat firing on Charmander and disabling it a little bit. But the crucial thing is, will it roll when it aims? And it doesn't look like it, so the issues have been resolved by simply installing another version of AP+. Yes, indeed. And that means that the boat fly very easily passes flight test inspections. And I'm very happy to see that my issue has finally been resolved. And I'm going to see if my next entrant is also going to have its issue resolved. Because Rocketing Racer had the same issue. And if this plane doesn't have it anymore, then surely his plane won't anymore either. You will be able to tell by my next plane, my next entrant that I'm going to review. If it is Rocketing Racer entry, then you'll know for sure that this bug has been squashed. Anyway, let's get to the next entrant. I am so very happy to see that my issue has been solved. Ah, yes. And for our next entrant, we have the Boat Camp by Rocketing Racer. As you see here in the BDA Vessel Switcher, I have already been a little bit too eager and already deployed the Boat Camp from its from its boat. Yeah, of course. Let's deploy the Charmander 2 and let's see if it also suffers from the issues that I mentioned in the previous clip with Willius. As you can see here, relatively simple boat, a very colorful plane here, the Boat Camp is. Let's start the competition to see if it suffers or if it thrives. Let's see if Charmander takes off. It sometimes just hugs the water too much and then crashes. Yeah, I have to fix that, but Charmander is not going to be in CFC in this version at least. It's going to be in a different version. It's going to be VTOL. Except it won't land because it doesn't have landing gear. But those are just minor details. Anyway, let's get these aircraft away from each other and back to each other to fight each other and see if they fight each other without any issues and see if the Boat Camp can succeed in defeating the Charmander, which in previous tests it did. Which, by the way, I did some previous tests to verify that Boat Camp wasn't also going to just freak out like it did normally. And it didn't look like it was going to do that. I mean, it does roll a lot when it aims with the missiles, but it doesn't really do anything when it aims with Vulcans or any stuff like that. I mean, that's the worst roll we've seen until now. That's very good to see from a plane that had massive roll issues before, when you had airplanes with just 24.0 instead of 25.0. And look at that beautiful craft fire at the Charmander. Fire without any issues. Yes, it is for sure looking like this boat can, which just lost its boat, which is very funny because it's named boat, is going to make it, as it's slowly stripping parts of the Charmander. It should be enough for another run. And there go a lot of explosions from that Charmander. And I have to say, mate, that Charmander is down. And what that would mean for the boat camp is that it won. It passed flight speed. I mean, let's be honest here. The Dutchian, it has no chance of ever defending with the wrong ammo. Ah, yes. That is another craft crossed off the problem list. I do very much appreciate that. It was then a very simple miscorrelation in AP Plus versions that made these aircraft unflyable. I feel so stupid right now. Well, boat camp is firing off all of its hellfires now on the Dutchian, just basically being overkill, making sure that the Dutchian dies. Which, by the way, you haven't succeeded quite yet. But it is sure trying. Anyway, Rocketing Racer. Sure, you'll be very happy to see that your aircraft performed nominally, and surely you'll be very happy to hear from me that you passed flight inspections with one aircraft. Let's take a look at your next one. Which, by the way, yep, I'm also going to review and test the Rainbow Death Machine, because you know, a bit of a lack of entries with CFC. Anyway, let's go to the next aircraft. I'm so hyped to see that your issue is fixed, mate. Your issue is fixed. And for our final aircraft of the day, we have the first of my entries. Yes, I know it's a little bit early, already having my entries in the second episode, while I was intending to put them in the last episode. But unfortunately, I didn't have so many entries that I could basically record like 3 videos of your entries, and then the final video will be mine. You see, I only had like 9 entries after several either failed flight or failed tech. And then just recently here, I was gonna record a video of one. That one threw its plane into the water, or blatantly denied the fact that the boat existed, which meant that the competition manager got stuck on planes taking off. So yeah, that is very, very nice, not? So it means that pretty much I have to make 7 or 8 aircraft entries, which luckily enough for me, I already have 4, because I kind of anticipated me not having enough entries even after the deadline extension. But that I wouldn't have even 10, didn't expect that. So it's more like, what was it, CFC Season 2, where half the entries were mine. Except back then, I was very motivated to make new aircraft. I actually had a lot of surplus aircraft laying around. Well, this time I don't. So I could just recycle old aircraft, make sure the competition gets going. Which would mean that it's not the most competitive thing ever. And it also means that the CE Manta Mark 1 that I intended to tweak, I don't have time for that anymore, because, as I said, I have to make 3 entries from scratch. Anyway, enough rambling about my situation. I picked the Mini Schanik because I knew that this is a very reliable one, because I tested it recently in a video. I actually built it from scratch in a recent video. And yeah, having a reliable aircraft to finish off the episode, as I said with the other one, which wasn't reliable, can be very nice. So let's see if it doesn't spaz out or something. It doesn't do any weird stuff. Deploy them. If you've seen the mini Schanik video, the result might not surprise you, as the mini Schanik's boat is called the HMS Float Boat. Because it's a float, actually, but it's technically classified as a boat in this competition, as the Charmander makes another last-minute skim across the water. Is mini Schanik also taking off here. The miniest of aircraft in this competition, which I can say for sure now, because I've seen no aircraft. Anyway, let's see how these two go against each other. As I said, we probably already know how this is going to go, but just to make sure, just for video content basically, and to make sure that I have more time. I gotta be totally honest here. It's just so I can make sure I have enough time to fill everything out. I am just going to record all my aircraft and flight inspections as well. Anyway, mini Schanik now fully turned around on the Charmander, which is doing its cheaty hellfires before it's actually a loud thing. Float boat firing on the hellfires, and it gets hit. Very unfortunate there. The hit for the float boat. And that A9 actually got taken out by another A9, as did that A9. Very funny. That is actually very funny to me, because it means that both missiles had absolutely no effect on the other aircraft. As the mini Schanik is actually searching for the Dutchian and wants to fire its hellfires at that. Curious, but it's also logical since I set the guns at like 1500 meters. As there we go, it fires its guns for the first time. Fires another time and it rolls a bit. Turns back round on the Charmander, as the Charmander is also trying to turn back round on the mini Schanik, but actually fails to do that. Oopsies. And it's actually out of range of the mini Schanik, but back into range right now. Some more fire, and it's destroying itself. This is the quality advantage you're going to see, because I don't have a choice really. Then the mini Schanik turned back round, going to try another gun pass on the Charmander. Going to try to line up. It's a very rolly aircraft, this one. As in, it tends to roll a lot. Sadly, could not make that one work. It's going to have to turn back on the Charmander now. Which it's doing now. And Vulcan selected. It is going to do a pass, at least try to do a pass. As the Cedara is actually doing a pass on it being the mini Schanik. Let's see how the float boat is doing. Oh yeah. Yeah, it totally makes sense that the float boat is actually doing absolutely nothing right now. The Charmander now actually climbing away, coming back. Vulcan selected. It's going to be into the Vulcan run, and there it goes. And absolutely nothing hits because it's a head-on. Let's. I think it's time to take a look at ammo load. Now I think the Charmander would lose an ammo load if it comes down to that. Re-engaging is the mini Schanik. Now it's not quite the best aircraft. It's a meme aircraft, which is why it's not quite the best aircraft. It's meant to be very funny instead of very competitive. And that's exactly the kind of filler entry I'm talking about here. Mini-Schanik now turning away from the Charmander, which means that the Charmander can have a go at the Mini-Schanik. Mini-Schanik has passed flight tests though, so if it fails to beat the Charmander, I don't care, really don't. Fire more, fire more, fire more, fire more! Why doesn't it fire more? Why does it not fire more? Why did it not fire more flares? Because obviously it would have survived if it fired all its flares. That is weird. Float boat. You don't have any chance of resistance here. Although you can be a slight nuisance to the Charmander. Yeah, I mean, after having seen KFC 10 and having seen my own flight tests and such, I really do think that CFC Season 5 is not the best rule set option that I can evolve on into the Season 6. Perhaps that could be very funny. We could put one aircraft on the island runway, and then the other aircraft on the normal runway, and then have their boats sitting in between, as if it's a blockade situation. That would be excellent roleplay, but it would be for next season. Why would I say something like that? Well, I was intending the aircraft to be launched from the boats this season. Well, I've had some issues with the aircraft being launched from the boats this season, so that is why. Appears though BDAC and Kerbal Space Program themselves are not quite ready for that yet, which is unfortunate. But yeah, anyway, enough ranting. It is actually the Charmander that loses. No, it's actually the Mini-Schanik that loses to the Charmander. Very unfortunate, of course, but it's the way things go, unfortunately. It is the Charmander winning that one. Probably going to be the only time that the Charmander wins. Let's emphasize that. Good job! As I try to talk through my yawn, it is the end of this episode of the CFC Season 5 Flight Inspections. And it is then the end of this video, of course. Which means that it's time for your favorite song of your favorite artist. At least I do hope so, because otherwise it's just annoying. It is bureaucratic with the voice Bob.